All right. Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. All right. All right, y'all. Now, the video that I showed you of Ephesus, just to let you all know, a big population of Hebrews lived in Turkey. And Ephesus is one of those places that our ancestors used to live in. So we have a history of living among the enemy. You know, they don't call us a stiff-necked people for no reason. And we still are like that. As you can see, nothing has changed. Shabbat shalom to everybody that's in the chat. Glad you're here. All right, just give me a moment here. Okay. We'll give people a little more time to get in the room. Let's see here.
In the midst of much confusion, we decided to unify. We won't let the vision die. We know there is a greater purpose, one aim, one destiny, and we'll all stay aligned to what's preferred by Yah. Man keep his hand in the hand of Yah, with woman by his side. Our children will follow, and together in unity we'll shine and glorify Yah. Together forever we'll glorify Yah. In unity together we'll glorify Yah. In truth and in unity, one love, one destiny, one great God family. In truth and in unity, one love, one destiny, one great God family. Yeah. Nothing will ever come between us. Our bond is tight, doing what's required and what's right. Know there is a greater purpose, one aim, one destiny, and we'll all stay aligned to what's preferred by Yah. Man keep his hand in the hand of Yah, with woman by his side. Our children will follow, together in unity we'll shine and glorify Yah. Together forever we'll glorify Yah. In unity together we'll glorify Yah. In truth and in unity, one love, one destiny, one great God family. In truth and in unity, one love, one destiny, one great God family. You gave us back to one another. He opened up our eyes and he gave us the gift of God. We know there is a greater purpose, one aim, one destiny, and we'll all stay alive to us. We heard by God. Man, keep your hands in the hands of God, with woman by his side. Our children will follow. Together in unity we'll shine and glorify Yah. Together forever and glorify Yah. In unity together we'll right now. And unity. Truth and unity. One love, one destiny. One breath together forever. You glorify God in unity together. Unity. Glorify God. We gotta have that. We gotta have that. One love, one destiny. Still got the glory. Together forever. Don't you know you glorify God. Unity together. You glorify God. It's true and unity. I must be fast. One love, one destiny. Yeah. Together forever. You glorify God. Unity together. You glorify God. It's true and unity. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. One breath together. Come on. Let's work together hand in hand. Glorify God. In unity all over the land. Right now. It's truth and unity. One love, one destiny. One love, one aim. Never leave. Together forever. Glorify God. In unity. Glorify God. In truth and in unity. Truth and unity. One love, one destiny.
All right, y'all. We're going to get into the book of Lamentations. You know, just understand we are all at different levels of learning. And that's going to happen because remember, the Most High wakes us all up at different times. Now, he happened to wake me up in 2010. That's when I got the tap on the shoulder from the Heavenly Father. And those of you just coming into the room, Shabbat Shalom to you, family. Shabbat Shalom. This is our holy day. This is the day the Most High anointed as a day of rest. We work and labor 6 days a week, and on the Shabbat, we rest. So, all of you, hello, and Shabbat Shalom. Now, you know we are a stiff-necked people. And all throughout the Bible, you're going to see where our people had to be punished a few times. And you can still see that same level of ignorance in our people even today. You know, we were stiff-necked back then. We are still stiff-necked. And the Most High is very patient. He is slow to anger, but when he gets to that point of anger, you know it's over. You're going to be punished, and that punishment is going to be severe. And you're going to see another time that the Hebrews the Hebrews had to be punished again in Lamentations. The gnashing of the teeth. It's not a big book, but it's a very powerful book, and the message is strong. And Jeremiah is the prophet that is telling this story in Lamentations. And he's actually one of my favorite prophets. I really love Jeremiah. Jeremiah is also known as the weeping prophet because he was always weeping to the Most High and worried about the fate of our people. So let's get into Lamentations and the whole meaning of what the book is. And don't be embarrassed if you don't know a lot about this, or if you happen to be very knowledgeable. You know, those of you that have a lot of knowledge, please be patient with those that don't. And those of you that don't have a lot of knowledge, even after this is over and you have questions, you can always send me an email. Don't be ashamed of what you don't understand, because many of those questions can easily be answered. So let's get into Lamentations. Now, the name Lamentations is expressing grief. To lament means to grieve. All right, so that's what this book is about. And Jeremiah, like I said, was known as the weeping prophet because he was always crying out of emotion over watching the destruction of his own people. And he was witnessing it. So in this book, he is writing what he witnessed. And that was the destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians. And this book was written shortly after the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC. And Jeremiah was an eyewitness. So he had predicted this destruction because he saw all the sin going on in Jerusalem at that time. He watched it take place, and in this book, he sadly reflects on what he saw. So the purpose was to express despair and teach the Most High's people that disobedience to the Most High result in immense suffering and distress. Now, one thing our people have failed to learn even to this day, whenever things go wrong, we are supposed to seek the face of the Most High. Instead of seeking the face of the Most High, we still try to take matters into our own hands, or we don't turn to the Most High at all, and things don't turn out so well. Jeremiah pours out his emotion and compassion and empathy for the Most High's nation, the Israelites, okay, as he watches them inhabit a foreign land, and that is Babylon, okay. In chapter 1, Jeremiah mourns for Jerusalem and Judea as it lays in ruins, and this was after the Babylonians came in and destroyed the city. So when it opens up, Lamentations 1, verse 1, how lonely sits the city that was full of people. She has become like a widow who was once great among nations. She who was a princess among the provinces and has become a forced laborer. So this royalty has become nothing more than a slave out of disobedience. Chapter 2, he describes the anger that the Most High had, which caused judgment on the land because everything became wicked in Jerusalem during that time. And you're going to hear how bad it got. Ladies and gentlemen, they were cannibalizing their own children because there was no food to eat. That's how bad it got. So in Lamentations 2, verse 3, in fierce anger, he has cut off all the strength of Israel. He has drawn back his right hand from before the enemy. So in other words, he let the enemies come in and do whatever they want because these people were so wicked and they were not following the Most High. So yes, Jerusalem at that time had turned completely wicked. Chapter 3. When we get into chapter 3, you'll see Jeremiah expressing his troubled spirits and suffering and gloom. He was very afflicted by looking at his homeland being pillaged by the enemy. And so, you know, the Most High, one thing about him, he will punish us, but he will always restore his love for his people. He never stops loving us, although sometimes we may not even deserve it. So he has that compassion even for us to this day. You know, our forefathers have done wrong. We are still feeling the effects of that punishment, but he still loves his people. He has not discarded us. He's not replaced us. And I used to hear the fake Jews, you know, people would say, well, they are in the land and they're praying, they're smart, they're doing this. No, the Most High did not replace us. So don't even listen to that kind of stuff. Now, in the final chapter, the Most High brings justice. Okay. So during the siege of Jerusalem, and the suffering was beyond anything you can believe. There was starvation that was so bad and widespread among the Hebrews, people resorted to eating their own children. The nation was warned about their sins and disobedience and the penalty of the coming judgment. So that's the thing that we all must understand. The Most High gives us many warnings before the people are actually punished. Even our ancestors that got punished in the bondage that we're in now, they had warnings for a long, long time before the Most High got fed up with everybody and, you know, and our people went into bondage. Remember, they were praying to false gods. And I was telling you about Molech was one of the gods, and they were throwing their kids into the fire as a means of making sacrifice to this false god. And if the Most High did not put us in captivity, I'm not even sure if children would have been left. That's how many they threw into the fire. It was a lot. So let's get into the book of Lamentations. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right.
The Lamentations of Jeremiah, Chapter 1. How doth the city sit solitary, that was full of people? How is she become as a widow, she that was great among the nations, and princess among the provinces? How is she become tributary? She weepeth sore in the night, and her tears are on her cheeks. Among all her lovers she hath none to comfort her. All her friends have dealt treacherously with her. They are become her enemies. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction, and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. The ways of Zion do mourn, because none come to solemn feasts. All her gates are desolate. Her priests sigh. Her virgins are afflicted, and she is in bitterness. Her adversaries are the chief. Her enemies prosper. For the Lord hath afflicted her for the multitude of her transgressions. Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy, and from the daughter of Zion all her beauty is departed. Her princes are become like harts that find no pasture, and they are gone without strength before the pursuer. Jerusalem remembered in the days of her affliction, and of her miseries, all her pleasant things that she had in the days of old, when her people fell into the hand of the enemy, and none did help her. The adversary saw her, and did mock at her Sabbaths. Jerusalem hath grievously sinned, therefore she is removed. All that honoured her despise her, because they have seen her nakedness. Yea, she sigheth, and turneth backward. Her filthiness is in her skirts. She remembereth not her last end. Therefore she came down wonderfully. She had no comforter. O Lord, Behold my affliction, for the enemy hath magnified himself. The adversary hath spread out his hand upon all her pleasant things. For she hath seen that the heathen entered into her sanctuary, whom thou didst command that they should not enter into thy congregation. All her people sigh, they seek bread. They have given their pleasant things for meat to relieve the soul. See, O Lord, and consider, for I am become vile. Is it nothing to you, all ye that pass by? Behold, and see if there be any sorrow like unto my sorrow, which is done unto me, wherewith the Lord hath afflicted me in the day of his fierce anger. From above hath he sent fire into my bones, and it prevaileth against them. He hath spread a net for my feet. He hath turned me back. He hath made me desolate and faint all the day. The yoke of my transgressions is bound by his hand. They are wreathed and come up upon my neck. He hath made my strength to fall. The Lord hath delivered me into their hands, from whom I am not able to rise up. The Lord hath trodden under foot all my mighty men in the midst of me. He hath called an assembly against me to crush my young men. The Lord hath trodden the virgin, the daughter of Judah, as in a winepress. For these things I weep. Mine eye runneth down with water, because the comforter that should relieve my soul is far from me. My children are desolate, because the enemy prevailed. Zion spreadeth forth her hands, and there is none to comfort her. The Lord hath commanded concerning Jacob, that his adversaries should be round about him. Jerusalem is as a menstruous woman among them. The Lord is righteous, for I have rebelled against his commandment. Hear, I pray you, all people, and behold my sorrow. My virgins and my young men are gone into captivity. I called for my lovers, but they deceived me. My priests and mine elders gave up the ghost in the city, while they sought their meat to relieve their souls. Behold, O Lord, for I am in distress. My bowels are troubled, mine heart is turned within me. For I have grievously rebelled. Abroad the sword bereaveth. At home there is as death. They have heard that I sigh. There is none to comfort me. All mine enemies have heard of my trouble. They are glad that thou hast done it. Thou wilt bring the day that thou hast called, and they shall be like unto me. Let all their wickedness come before thee, and do unto them as thou hast done unto me, for all my transgressions. For my sighs are many, and my heart is faint. Chapter 2. How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger, and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. The Lord hath swallowed up all the habitations of Jacob, and hath not pitied. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughter of Judah. He hath brought them down to the ground. He hath polluted the kingdom and the princes thereof. He hath cut off in his fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy, and he burned against Jacob like a flaming fire which devoureth round about. He hath bent his bow like an enemy. He stood with his right hand as an adversary, and slew all that were pleasant to the eye in the tabernacle of the daughter of Zion. He poured out his fury like fire. The Lord was as an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He hath destroyed his stronghold, and hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. And he hath violently taken away his tabernacle, as if it were of a garden. He hath destroyed his places of the assembly. The Lord hath caused the solemn feasts and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion, and hath despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. The Lord hath cast off his altar. He hath abhorred his sanctuary. He hath given up into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. They have made a noise in the house of the Lord, as in the day of a solemn feast. The Lord hath purposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion. He hath stretched out a line. He hath not withdrawn his hand from destroying. Therefore he made the rampart and the wall to lament. They languish together. Her gates are sunk into the ground. He hath destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the Gentiles. The law is no more. Her prophets also find no vision from the Lord. The elders of the daughter of Zion sit upon the ground and keep silence. They have cast up dust upon their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem hang down their heads to the ground. Mine eyes do fail with tears, my bowels are troubled, my liver is poured upon the earth, for the destruction of the daughter of my people, because the children and the sucklings swoon in the streets of the city. They say to their mothers, "Where is corn and wine?" When they swooned as the wounded in the streets of the city, when the soul was poured out into their mother's bosom. What thing shall I take to witness for thee? What thing shall I liken to thee, O daughter of Jerusalem? What shall I equal to thee, that I may comfort thee, O virgin daughter of Zion? For thy breach is great like the sea, who can heal thee? Thy prophets have seen vain and foolish things for thee, and they have not discovered thine iniquity to turn away thy captivity, but have seen for thee false burdens and causes of banishment. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, "Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?" All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, "We have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we looked for. We have found, we have seen it. The Lord hath done that which he had devised. He hath fulfilled his word that he had commanded in the days of old. He hath thrown down, hath not pitied, and he hath caused thine enemy to rejoice over thee. He hath set up the horn of thine adversaries. Their heart cried unto the Lord, O wall of the daughter of Zion, let tears run down like a river day and night. Give thyself no rest. Let not the apple of thine eye cease. Arise, cry out in the night. In the beginning of the watches, pour out thine heart like water before the face of the Lord. Lift up thy hands toward him for the life of thy young children that faint for hunger on the top of every street. Behold, O Lord, and consider to whom thou hast done this. Shall the women eat their fruit and children of a span long? Shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? The young and the old lie on the ground in the streets. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. Thou hast slain them in the day of thine anger. Thou hast killed and not pitied. Thou hast called as in a solemn day my terrors round about, so that in the day of the Lord's anger none escaped nor remained. Those that I have swaddled and brought up hath mine enemy consumed. Chapter 3. I am the man that hath seen affliction by the rod of his wrath. He hath led me and brought me into darkness, but not into light. Surely against me is he turned. He turneth his hand against me all the day. My flesh and my skin hath he made old. He hath broken my bones. He hath builded against me, encompassed me with gall and travail. He hath set me in dark places, as they that be dead of old. He hath hedged me about, that I cannot get out. He hath made my chain heavy. Also when I cry and shout, he shutteth out my prayer. He hath enclosed my ways with hewn stone. He hath made my paths crooked. He was unto me as a bear lying in wait, and as a lion in secret places. He hath turned aside my ways, and pulled me in pieces. He hath made me desolate. He hath bent his bow, and set me as a mark for the arrow. He hath caused the arrows of his quiver to enter into my reins. I was a derision to all my people, and their song all the day. He hath filled me with bitterness. He hath made me drunken with wormwood. He hath also broken my teeth with gravel stones. He hath covered me with ashes. And thou hast removed my soul far off from peace. I forgat prosperity. And I said, my strength and my hope is perished from the Lord. Remembering mine affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall. My soul hath them still in remembrance, and is humbled in me. This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, saith my soul. Therefore will I hope in him. The Lord is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeketh him. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth. He sitteth alone and keepeth silence, because he hath borne it upon him. He putteth his mouth in the dust. If so be there may be hope. He giveth his cheek to him that smiteth him. He is filled full with reproach. For the Lord will not cast off forever. But though he cause grief, yet will he have compassion according to the multitude of his mercies. For he doth not afflict willingly, nor grieve the children of men, to crush under his feet all the prisoners of the earth, to turn aside the right of a man before the face of the Most High, to subvert a man in his cause, the Lord approveth not. Who is he that saith, and it cometh to pass, when the Lord commandeth it not? Out of the mouth of the Most High proceedeth not evil and good? Wherefore doth a living man complain, a man for the punishment of his sins? Let us search and try our ways, and turn again to the Lord. Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto God in the heavens. We have transgressed and have rebelled. Thou hast not pardoned. Thou hast covered with anger and persecuted us. Thou hast slain. Thou hast not pitied. Thou hast covered thyself with a cloud, that our prayer should not pass through. Thou hast made us as the offscouring and refuse in the midst of the people. All our enemies have opened their mouths against us. Fear and a snare is come upon us, desolation and destruction. Mine eye runneth down with rivers of water for the destruction of the daughter of my people. Mine eye trickleth down and ceaseth not without any intermission, till the Lord look down and behold from heaven. Mine eye affecteth mine heart because of all the daughters of my city. Mine enemies chased me sore, like a bird without cause. They have cut off my life in the dungeon, and cast a stone upon me. Waters flowed over mine head. Then I said, I am cut off. I called upon thy name, O Lord, out of the low dungeon. Thou hast heard my voice. Hide not thine ear at my breathing, at my cry. Thou drewest near in the day that I called upon thee. Thou saidst, fear not. O Lord, thou hast pleaded the causes of my soul. Thou hast redeemed my life. O Lord, thou hast seen my wrong. Judge thou my cause. Thou hast seen all their vengeance and all their imaginations against me. Thou hast heard their reproach, O Lord, and all their imaginations against me. The lips of those that rose up against me, and their device against me all the day. Behold, their sitting down and their rising up. I am their music. Render unto them a recompense, O Lord, according to the work of their hands. Give them sorrow of heart, thy curse unto them. Persecute and destroy them in anger from under the heavens of the Lord. Chapter 4. How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter? Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to the young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. The tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. They that did feed delicately are desolate in the streets. They that were brought up in scarlet embrace dunghills. For the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom. That was overthrown as in a moment, and no hand stayed on her. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. Their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. The skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It is become like a stick. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. The hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. The Lord hath accomplished his fury. He hath poured out his fierce anger, and hath kindled a fire in Zion, and it hath devoured the foundations thereof. The kings of the earth, and all the inhabitants of the world, would not have believed that the adversary and the enemy should have entered into the gates of Jerusalem. For the sins of her prophets, and the iniquities of her priests, that have shed the blood of the just in the midst of her, they have wandered as blind men in the streets. They have polluted themselves with blood, so that men could not touch their garments. They cried unto them, Depart ye, it is unclean. Depart, depart, touch not. When they fled away and wandered, they said among the heathen, They shall no more sojourn there. The anger of the Lord hath divided them. He will no more regard them. They respected not the persons of the priests. They favoured not the elders. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps, though we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness. The breath of our nostrils, the anointed of the Lord, was taken in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the heathen. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. Chapter 5. Remember, O Lord, what is come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We have given a hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that doth deliver us out of their hand. We got our bread with the peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. They ravished the women in Zion and the maids in the cities of Judah. Princes are hanged up by their hand. The faces of elders were not honoured. They took the young men to grind, and the children fell under the wood. The elders have ceased from the gate, the young men from their music. The joy of our heart is ceased. Our dance is turned into mourning. The crown is fallen from our head. Woe unto us that we have sinned. For this our heart is faint. For these things our eyes are dim. Because of the mountain of Zion, which is desolate, the foxes walk upon it. Thou, O Lord, remainest forever, thy throne from generation to generation. Wherefore dost thou forget us forever, and forsake us so long time? Turn thou us unto thee, O Lord, and we shall be turned. Renew our days as of old. But thou hast utterly rejected us. Thou art very wroth against us.
All right. As you can see, every time we got around the heathens, we got in trouble. Every single time we start acting like them, we stop doing Sabbath, we stop acknowledging our Hebrew holidays, and we start doing what the Gentiles do. And we always ended up in hot water over it. And you can see our ancestors kept repeating that mistake over and over and over. You're right, Esmac. Our skin was black from famine, which means every time we go through a starvation, our people actually got darker. Now, as you can see, the Jews that are over in Israel, when you look at them during the Holocaust, when they went through a famine and they were not being fed on a regular basis, they got pale. They did not get black like it speaks about in the Bible. So, and that's also a good indicator that they are not the people at all, you know? Right. You know, and the thing is, all our people had to do was not turn away from the Most High, and they never would have been taken by the Babylonians. So once again, come from out of her Israel. You got to come out of, from out of the heathens, because the more you bond with them, the further away from the Most High you always will be. It's no doubt about it. So you can see our people were hard-headed back then and we're hard-headed now. So nothing has changed. Yes, Zahara. Yes, whenever we went through a famine, our skin got darker. And we know that don't happen to the Ashkenazi Jews that are over in Israel, because we already seen pictures of them in the Holocaust, and they did not turn black at all. So that should tell you right there, they are not the right people. They are faking the funk. We know they are not the real Jews. Nothing about them is the real Jews. In fact, they everything they do is contrary to what the Bible and Torah says. They don't follow it at all. They do everything opposite of it. Yeah, well, you know, you have to be black, not wear black. There's a big difference. you can't wear black and think that's equivalent to being black. Right, you're right. Wayward 242. Adam, the story of Adam and Eve. You know, when she was with the serpent, that was probably that was the first swirling that ever took place on Earth. Right there. Yeah, you know, Ahias, the Edomites around the world are falling apart, and we see it every day. You know, they are definitely a very scared and desperate group of people right now. You know, so they are trying to lash out at anyone, even their own people. In fact, let me show you a story that I was thinking about doing. All right, if y'all can see my screen, you should be able to see it. I want you to see the story that just came out. All right, so this is Las Vegas gunmen lost over 1.5 million before mass shooting. And this is Stephen Paddock at the Mandalay Bay Hotel. So they just found out that this man lost $1.5 million over a 2-year period before he went on the shooting October 1st. And he killed 58 people that were attending a country music concert that was outdoors. You know, and that's the thing about these people. The thing is, when they lose money, because we know money is their God, when they lose money, they want to take it out on everybody, you know, or if something fails in their life, they always want to turn around and blame others for it. You know, if he lost that amount of money, take your own damn life. What you trying to kill other people for? Kill yourself. But they don't think like that. They think like an animal. That's why somebody like him can go into a hotel and shoot down at people that had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he lost all of that money. But that is the kind of wickedness that we live around. Whenever they fail in life, they want to take a gun out and shoot everybody. And we know that is not normal behavior. That's animal behavior. That is not, that is a soulless person with no humanity. And that's not normal. And, you know, those are the people that some of ours want to follow and believe there's something extraordinary about these people. And there's nothing, it's absolutely nothing there that is worthy of our attention. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, this boy, he was delusional and all that. He was bipolar. Yeah, well, he was all of those things, but he wasn't locked up, was he? They let him walk free among everybody else. You know, I don't get it. Why bring all of that stuff about him mentally ill, him being bipolar, and all that stuff after the fact? You know, it's amazing how they can speak about all this stuff after the gunman is dead, but they don't seem to say any of these things while they're alive. Yeah, well, I am greatness. Our people will always love the enemy more than they love their own. You know, even when I had my video that I had put up about Trump and LeBron James, there was actually a coon that came in the section to try to defend Trump. So, you know, there's nothing we can do about that. We're going to always have coons among our people. You know, we know everybody cannot be saved. And that's one thing we all have to accept. Everybody will not be saved. And they don't, and quite honest, you know, they don't deserve to be saved. They're not trying to find out who they are. All they're doing is trying to make sure they stay clinging to the enemy. So let them do it. Then they can go down with the enemy. But this is what they have discovered about that knucklehead Stephen Paddock, you know, him losing all that money. He sounds like a damn idiot to me. Who the hell loses that amount of money? Yeah, yeah, you know, child pornography, many of them are into that. They don't, you know, they think they are the gods on the earth, and they're not. There is no God within their soul at all. You know, the only thing that's there is a demon. That's about it. And we certainly can't pay attention to that. You know, no, you don't. I mean, you can clearly tell he was not all there, you know, for him to lose that amount of money and then try to get mad at everybody else over it. And that's just the nature of the beast. They fail at life, and all of a sudden everybody else got to be responsible for their failures, and we're not responsible for that. The hell with them. The hell with them. Hi, Sister Winfield. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you're right, Mike Lewis. I believe that too. I believe he's jealous of most black men, especially the ones in the NFL. I really do. You know, those men can do things. You know, those men can do things that Trump never could do his whole life. Trump don't look like he got an athletic bone in his body. So, and even when I look at pictures of him younger, he just don't have that athletic build. So yeah, his daddy had to leave him money because he would not have been able to earn nothing on his own like that. Yeah, I heard another part of California's on fire, y'all. I don't know if you heard. Let me see if I can find that. Here it is. Mendocino complex become California's seventh largest fire. So it's still burning out of control in California. Nothing has changed. 314 square miles have been scorched, making it the seventh largest ever fire in the state. So they're saying at least 55 homes have been destroyed, along with 47 other structures, and threatens 12,300 buildings near Reading. More than 1,550 buildings have been destroyed by the Carr fire, and 1,350 more are threatened. The fire is now twice the size of Sacramento, which I remember that fire, and is the 6th most destructive wildfire in state history. I mean, it seems like every time California goes on fire, it is like a massive inferno going over there. It just seems like, especially between last year and this year, these fires are like breaking records. I mean, that is just absolutely crazy. Yeah, somebody told me, all of these fires, even the ones last year, it was not a lot of Black people in those areas where it burned. Yeah, the fires are in the west, the floods are in the east. That is true. It has been crazy. The weather here is crazy. You'll have the sun out one moment and then it gets real dark and it starts pouring. And it'll do that off and on all day long. And it's been like that for several days now. We'll have the sun, then we'll go to all these dark clouds and it'll pour, and then the sun will come back out, and it'll do that several times in one day. It's just crazy. If Trump could be LeBron, he would, if somebody could give him a magic wand and the next day he could be a big athletic Black man, he would go for it. That man is so unhappy. And that's all that is showing you how miserable and unhappy he is. And he's so quick to go out on Twitter to criticize and put down Black folks. It is very obvious Trump is a hardcore racist. Always have been, always will be. I don't see how anybody can be shocked by his racism anymore. He's been showing it since he's been in the media, even when he was just living in New York. That man was showing all kinds of things in his history, from housing and all kinds of issues, that he's nothing but a straight up racist. Yeah, I saw that pastor meeting. There's a reason why Trump only keeps a certain type of Black man and woman around him. He keeps a certain type of Black man and woman around him. If you're not kissing the ass of white folks, then that's not the kind of Black people he wants around him. You got to be a big ass kisser. So those texts are good. I like